not quite, it's cat penis. I'm clearing some of that out. I had a male, I didn't get no dicks, and it's nasty.
I don't have a cat, I don't like cats, but Cat has like a big wild cat. Sounds like cat pee.
It's Jay's fault.
It's all take care. Alright, whose friend is here?
Yeah. It's kind of scary, isn't it? If we could only get together like that when we ask questions. Well, I know the guy with a hat. Is this one? Oh. Hey, welcome back. I like that hat. I always have. Today, JC is going to lead us in a surrounding course of Kumbaya.
It's more like hurricane
I was born in a crossfire hurricane.
crossfire hurricane.
And I howled at my mom was driving rain. But it's all right now. As a matter of fact, relax.
Right. All the way to Charlottesville.
Okay, jumping jack flash at the gas station.
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me? Mic check. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. Mic check. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. That better? 1, 2, 3. Mic check. 1, 2, 3, 4. Check, check, check. Mic check. Mic check. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Can you hear me? Is it better now? 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, no, I'm talking normal. Yep, normal. 1, 2, 3. Can hear myself. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Better? Got it now? Okay.
So when anybody comes and tries to stand next to you, just sound.
You can borrow my billy club if you need it.
I can take care of that.
Oh, never mind. She'll take it. Cool.
I'm doing it with my real wife.
Cool idea. He's part of the Isle Nation too.
Well, and that's, what else?
You want to show your pretty face? Not really. No, okay.
If you need me to. I'm a freelancer, right? I don't have to do what I don't want to do, right?
All right. Anybody?
Yeah, I don't know. That's what you're talking about.
Check 1, 2. Anybody? Hey, Ryan. You all right? Good?
Yeah. He was sitting on the Carson show and he goes, Superman movie, so what's it about? He goes, thank you for being so well informed. Tell it, Johnny.
Yeah, I'm going to do that. Yeah, we know it sometimes.
We don't care.
Yeah.
You're programming.
Yeah, because I know some of them keep that stuff around. That will work on the iPhone. I just run it through the station where I can listen without needing an ISP. Good, how are you?
No. That's where my camera goes.
Yeah, that's the problem. They treat it with the same respect they treat the press.
Yeah, just stand right here.
Yeah. They,
John.
Hey, man. How are you?
I'm the official greeter. I was elected by the by our prime minister. I have to officially greet everyone. And John taught me the public way. I appreciate that. Oh, it's raining? Thank you. I have no idea. It never gets old doing it. Hey, did you hear?
Steve with
The press briefing has been delayed for 9 o'clock. We have a lunch break till tomorrow.
Yeah, just in case, safe battery.
In case they delayed by 2 hours.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, they know what's up. They're used to it. I just make it a right turn. I guess. Just in case.
yeah. Oh, yeah. I guess where I raised it before is always.
I almost
It should be, we're on. Been talking the big reel. It should be under Madden Station.
You just make, I guess, like the hollowness comes from being like one person being thinking about the other person's mind.
Yeah, you know.
I know one. In fact, I almost sent you. I was like, hey, recognize this? I'm like, but you know what?
Yeah. Post.
Just let it go this time.
I gotta say,
But I thought of it.
not necessarily the need to put both people's mics on the camera. I'm on Instagram.
combination of the candy out of.
I guess my coach would just run a PNC with the camera.
I said, no, I was in here's a case where, instead of brains over bone, this is the most encouraging you can see. That's sure missing. I mean, they're yeah, that's, I didn't mention that. I did mention the brain. Right.
I was not keeping an eye.
You did the fist bump, I was like. Right. Well, I tweet out my collar. Yeah, right. And then of course I got to leave. All right, what's going on in the press room? I just want to know.
No. Put that stuff away.
Heard a Joey bag of donuts.
Yeah.
We're gonna need it later, pal.
Yes, I just.
Zigzag.
Robert, can you hear me? Robert, me and Frank
The Wonder Twins.
Yeah, very good.
Seemed very crowded back there.
You were like, rush. Get busy when you get a lot of
Basically,
We did 410. Yeah, so I think it's just like 10.
Yeah, I noticed that.
So you weren't.
Yeah.
No, I mean, you remember the Gen A10, which the A20s replaced? It's the smaller version of
or you guys can just relax, or you can just relax until you're needed.
What, of the drain of the door or something?
Half an hour.
Check out gear, audio or video.
Yeah, you're ready, yeah. You may end up doing
Actually, that's Charles.
Oh, that's right. Sorry, I didn't see you there, Charles.
Well, you know.
Three out of three so far.
I guess I'm just
Welcome.
Good to see you again. They only seem to hold these when I'm here. I'm in the very often.
We've been waiting for you, Red.
Yeah, my question is really
I think we should, because last time we were sitting on
Yeah, you see it.
put it all together.
They didn't slope the floor.
Like you're already somebody splicing the videos. It's not like you're somebody.
That's a big one. Yeah, and where's the one?
As I said, it was like
Yeah, the only way to flood it.
I don't really have a preference.
Like that letter, Jordan was being pretty good, right? I won. It's a 16-year-old.
well, that, I mean, it's all about light placement. So as long as you got good light placement, you know, when that light isn't blowing hot, you can just kill it completely.
Yeah.
what happens is the ground gets saturated and the water can go in.
Your gutter.
My gutters are usually overflowing.
Well, that's the only thing. Gutter helmet.
Gutter helmet gets clogged up. Yeah, it does.
Yeah, especially with this heavy gutter.
Especially if you have evergreens. Especially if you have a million evergreens.
You can do it.
Yeah, I need to, yeah, the gutter just go right there. They don't do it.
Alright.
Are you sure?
Hello.
We kept their roof rate.
I just saw my wife the other day to go. Were you seated today? I lost it.
Oh, yeah.
See, I didn't hear you, but she died. Like, that would be fun.
We've got everything there. So we've got, well, that would
I come pre-wired. Thank you. Hey, Christy, yes, I got you. Wolf, yes.
Okay.
Yes, I can. You got me. Okay.
We'll get out of here pretty fast. Yes.
Like, just use a conference room, just get 2 people and set up. Yeah, and if we run it, someone controls the fire rather than only doing it when we're shooting an arrow.
Oh, has it? I hadn't noticed it.
It's definitely there on Monday.
Peter, turn on your box.
But I think that thing, that was on the web and said you have to.
They're getting the big camera. He is indeed. Rudy Giuliani, who's the president's lawyer, been on his team for a couple weeks or so, about 3 weeks or so. He is trying to set the stage here, certainly in a political sense and a legal sense as well, on this 1-year anniversary of the beginning of Bob Mueller's Russia probe here. He's saying that the president cannot be indicted. That, of course, is the word from the Justice Department, he says, following the protocol that the Justice Department has had since the Nixon administration. He's saying the president cannot be indicted, trying to make the argument, the beginnings of the argument, that if he can't be indicted, perhaps there is nothing to this investigation. But that doesn't mean that the president would be out of the woods.
Harris, yeah, and that's expected to come as a briefing.
The special counsel could make a referral to the House of Representatives. He can make a referral elsewhere. So Rudy Giuliani is trying to set the table here as the president is not hearing from him. But we're reading
A couple of weeks ago, during the D&J section of the Special Counsel Ron Mueller, he was given assurances that Mueller will abide by the 1999
investigation here. So, the lawyers that the president was supposed to be over a long time ago. Remember, it was supposed to be over Thanksgiving time, then Christmas time. Here we are, nearly in the middle of May, and this investigation is still alive as well.
Well, we know when we heard from Rudy Giuliani, the president's outside counsel for the last couple of hours, indicating, as you said, that the two sides, Robert Mueller's team and the president's legal team, have now engaged on several points, making progress, as he described it, toward potential interviews. And the details of the conversation were confidential conversations. He said happened.
Giuliani also jumped down in the strategy of May 2nd and Sean Hannity would come out with revelations that the president had remained sure could be. That was when we now back the
Like an exam.
It's just at 3 o'clock initially, that's been taken off the schedule overnight, so we're not going to
There are some people, Harris, who will be saying that the strategy it's just become a news story. The bombshell that would have yesterday was first heard about the repayments that were going when the president
reacting to another individual who brought up the issue of MS-13 gang members. The president described immigrants, who appears to be referring to those gang members, as animals, but this is the type of language he's used before in reference to MS-13. But broadly, he has spoken unsparingly in his criticism of immigrants who have come into the United States from Mexico in the past. You remember the day this was effectively announced his campaign. He said that good people, but obviously this is underscores the English language the president often embraces when speaking about topics like illegal immigration, or he feels like he can do it by the Trump election and stuff.
Oh, hello, sir. How are you?
I just pretend you're not
I remember Bush telling me that I'm not here.
The worst thing for me is when he starts talking. 2 seconds, 1 second, all of a sudden, 2 random words in your head, you're like, okay, hello, Harris.
The worst thing is that you've got salary.
Yeah, that stomach break. Right.
Slow down to catch up
Right.
collectively. That requires a tremendous amount of concentration.
That's when you pop the eye of the other. I can't.
But having Peter in mind is really good. That truly should circus. Yeah.
You try a different way, you can stand.
We got up in York. No, just here today. A chance to be seen with you here.
Yeah, it's legitimately.
Oh yeah, that guy roasted. He was so nice about it. That was the worst part. He sent me a YouTube video. He was like, "Here's how you actually do it." No, white tie. This guy emailed me. He's like, "I saw you on Fox News." He's like, "Let's show me how to properly tie a tie." He's like, "Please watch this instruction." Yeah, I was like, "Thank you. I appreciate it."
Double one turn.
Yeah.
Good. For you. Today. What was your? No.
Yeah.
It's more the figuring out
Exactly what you're talking about.
Up to. Up to.
Not better. What else? What burns? Oh, my chest! What's that? Holy Grail. One of my classes. Bring out the dead. That's the same. I'm not dead yet. You will be still dead. Oh, the guy. Dark value. It's just a flesh wound. You got no arms and legs. Not much anyway. Bleed on me. Run away, you bastard.
Sarah doesn't understand why everybody's laughing hysterically as you're walking the street. She's not about the cruiser and doing all the body python damage.
Non-python break.
And now for a stirring rendition of the Lumberjack song.
Oh, yeah. Well, I sit closest to one. But I've been hearing people downstairs too.
Right next to the Wizard of Oz. She rotates annually.
I'm more pressing there is room.
Very exciting. Bill's hanging out in Hawaii. So we're in acid poison. It's like Stockton. I was gonna say, it looks like he's hanging out in Frederick County. You up there, right? I'm flooding where you are. It was flooding down there. I'm in the Cape Well, Montgomery County,
I heard someone said Yanni over it as they were talking that I only heard Yanni and then I only heard There's, I forget what she's at, like, there's like a little spectrum thing where you can change the frequency that's loudest, you can change it together. Oh, wow.
Did you see that still of the golfers?
That's a really cool shot.
I blame Trump rallies for destroying the range of years.
Yes. Wait, what?
Lee Greenwood.
Lee Greenwood. I still love that song. Yeah, me too. Oh my God. I love that song.
I actually played that song. Yeah, and the Backstreet Boys still stayed and she held it the whole time.
I shared that with Roberta once and Curtis.
It's a really intentional.
She was not impressed. She was not impressed.
I was like, that's a wide shot.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. As you all know, President Trump is deeply committed to our veterans. These brave men and women have given so much to our country and deserve our absolute best, which is why this president is fighting for reform and accountability at the VA. In keeping with his campaign pledge, the president donates his salary on a quarterly basis to further important projects. Today, the president is proud to donate his 2018 first quarter salary to the Department of Veterans Affairs to support their caregiver programs. Acting Secretary of Veterans Affairs, Robert Wilkie, is here to accept the check. I'd like to bring him up to say a few words about how these funds will be used. make sure that I
Thank
give
you
you
very much,
the
Sarah.
all-important actual check.
Thank you very much, Sarah, and good afternoon. Before I address the President's generosity, I want to say a couple of things about what happened in the House yesterday. I want to send my thanks and the thanks of Veterans Affairs to the Chairman of the House Veterans Affairs Committee, Dr. Rowe, and thank him for the bipartisan coalition that he forged together. The vote yesterday was overwhelming, 347 to 70. And this is long-awaited legislation that our veterans have been waiting in anticipation of. This takes 7 community care programs that we've been using for the last 15 to 20 years and condenses them into one. It also makes it much easier for our veterans to obtain care that they need at the moment that they need it in homes and in facilities closest to where they live. This also opens up the caregiver program to long-waiting communities within our veterans' world. Those veterans from World War II, Korea, Vietnam, and the Gulf War who have not had access to a community caregiver program that was opened up for those who have served in the military since 9/11. So with this strong bipartisan support, we urge the Senate to take up the House bill and give it to President Trump, hopefully before Memorial Day. But I also want to single out the major veteran service organizations. 38 of them signed a letter in support of this legislation to the House and Senate leadership. Their people have been walking the halls of the Congress for the last week. They will be in the Senate next week, and we can't thank them enough for their support for our nation's 20 million veterans. And Sarah, I want to thank you for the announcement. I want to thank you for President Trump's generosity. The President's gift underscores his promise to do all that he can for veterans, which includes supporting those who care for our veterans, not just those of us at VA, but the husbands, the wives, the families, and the community caregivers who are out there day in and day out, making life easier for those who have borne the battle. President Trump understands the critical role of caregivers in meeting the essential needs of America's veterans. So we have already earmarked this gift for caregiver support in the form of mental health and peer support programs, financial aid, education, training, and research. I am deeply grateful to President Trump for providing me the opportunity to serve America's veterans and for his generosity in supporting them. So thank you, Sarah, and thank you to President Trump. I know how much this means to America's veterans. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Lastly, this week is set aside each year to honor those across our country who wear the badge. In the spirit of Police Week, I want to read a quick letter from Samuel of San Antonio, Texas, that he sent the President. Dear Mr. President Donald J. Trump, last year I raised about $375 for our police. I went down to McDonald's and bought 75 $5 gift cards so the police officers could get coffee or lunch. It would be really cool to meet you. I wish I could vote for you, but I'm only 11. But my mom voted for you. I'm starting a fundraiser called A Break for the Blue. I listened to your talks and I went to the inauguration and saw you. You're awesome. Sincerely, Samuel. Thankfully, I had the honor of meeting Samuel earlier today. He was adopted by his family in Guatemala. He's incredibly grateful to be an American, and he's very grateful to all of the law enforcement officers around the country. The President is very proud of Samuel and believes our country needs more young people like him who give back to their communities. And he's a really, really great kid, and it was great to meet him. And with that, I will take your questions. John.
Sarah, we haven't had a chance to hear any kind of an in-depth analysis here. Where are we with the summit with Kim Jong-un and the statements that we've heard over the last few days out of North Korea? Do you think that these throw in jeopardy the idea of a summit, or is this just North Korea doing what it does and trying to get the best deal possible?
Look, the President is prepared and will be ready to meet. And we're continuing to move forward with the preparations at this point. And if the North Koreans want to meet, we'll be there. And at this point, there is not a lot of change beyond that, and certainly not in our process.
So what North Korea is saying now about the joint military exercises after Moon Jae-in said Kim knows that these take place and he understands that they have to take place. What game is North Korea playing?
You'd have to ask North Korea what game they're playing. I can tell you what we're doing, and we're continuing to move forward in preparations. And the president, as we've said all along, will be prepared and ready to meet. And there's really not a lot to add beyond that point. John?
Thanks a lot, Sarah. What leverage does the U.S. have as it relates to having this meeting take place on June the 12th, and to that meeting actually taking place when it takes place, if it takes place? What leverage does the U.S. have over accomplishing the American goal of denuclearizing the Korean Peninsula?
We're continuing in the maximum pressure campaign, but again, nothing has changed on our end. This was an invitation that North Korea offered and that we've accepted, and we're continuing to move forward in those preparations. Steve?
Another issue.
Sorry, I'm going to keep going because we're really tight on time today. Steve,
follow
go ahead.
up on that. What the North Koreans also announced was they were stopping the dialogue with South Korea. So is it possible that there could be a meeting between the United States and North Korea if that whole dialogue between the North and South is on ice?
The meeting that would take place on June 12th is between the United States and North Korea, should it take place. We're going to meet with President Moon next week. And beyond that, again, there are no changes at this point to our schedule or anything else. Blake?
Does President Trump believe that the FBI had a spy at one point inside his campaign?
I haven't spoken with him directly about that, but certainly seen the reports, and if there is any truth to that, it should certainly be looked into. Emerald? Sorry, I'm going to keep going just because we're tight. Emerald, go ahead.
Thank you. Following up on Blake's question, if it is proven without a shadow of a doubt that there was a spy planted in the Trump campaign, does that change the president's position on firing Robert Mueller?
I'm not going to speak about hypotheticals or get into what could happen if. We'll move forward in the process and make a determination at that point. John?
Thank you, Sarah. The Iraqi elections are over, and it's very clear that the two big winners, the two top vote getters, were the party that was linked to Muqtada al-Sadr, a sworn enemy of the United States, and someone aligned with the Iraqi Communist Party. And the second place finisher was the party aligned with Mr. al-Hamri, a warlord who was once backed by Iran. What's the U.S.'s attitude on a government in Baghdad having either of those individuals as the key player?
I'll start with the fact I'm glad you said the names and not me, because I probably wouldn't have gotten them right. But in terms of our policy, we don't have any new policy announcements with a potential change there. Jeff?
So you don't care if either of them is?
Certainly we care, but I don't have any specific changes in U.S. policy while that's happened. Jeff?
Sarah, what does the United States expect out of negotiations today with China on trade, and what are the president's intentions on helping or changing the policy towards Chinese company ZTE?
In terms of the meeting, I'll start there. Those are conversations are ongoing. When we have something from that, I'll be happy to share it with you. But right now, those are just discussions, and there's nothing to add to that at this point, since they're just now taking place. I can say that we expect that the president will meet with the head of the Chinese delegation later this afternoon.
And ZTE?
On ZTE, look, the United States and China relationship has a lot of issues that we have regular ongoing conversations about. National security, trade, and ZTE is one of them. As we've said before, and as the president has stated, he's asked Secretary Ross to look into the issue and do whatever is consistent with the law and regulations, but right now it's just something that he's asked them to look into. Julie?
Thanks, Sarah. Also on trade, the president said yesterday that Mexico does nothing for us, especially at the border. We know there are talks today on NAFTA, today and tomorrow, and I wonder if the administration is going to condition any NAFTA deal on a safe third country agreement with Mexico, or Mexico stepping up to do more to absorb asylum seekers and other migrants who are seeking entry to the U.S.?
I'm not going to get into the trade conversations at this point because they are ongoing and those are negotiations that we're in the middle of. But I can tell you that the president does want to see Mexico step up and do more. There's a lot that comes through their country and he wants them to be tougher and more aggressive on that front. Jeff?
Thank you, sir. This morning, the president marked the one-year anniversary of the Mueller investigation, saying it's disgusting, illegal, unwarranted, and a witch hunt. But his own FBI director yesterday said it's not a witch hunt. Does the president, why does the White House still believe it's a witch hunt? And why did he cancel his news conference this afternoon, which was originally set for 3 o'clock with the NATO Secretary General?
Different topics, but the president knows that there was no collusion in the campaign, and he has been quite clear about this. It's gone on for over a year. They found no evidence of collusion and still strongly believe that it's a witch hunt. I'm not sure how we could be any more clear, and certainly not sure how the president could be any more clear about his beliefs and his opinion. In terms of a press engagement, the president will have press at his event here shortly, which is why we're going to have to keep it quick and short today, and likely take a few questions at that event. Jordan.
Thanks, Sarah. On immigration, there seems to be we're moving closer to action in the House of Representatives, and I'm wondering what bill the president would accept, anything short of the 4 pillars that he laid out earlier this month, something like border security and DACA. Seems to be a proposal that is gaining steam. Is that something that the president could support?
The president definitely supports border security as he's laid out multiple times, and again talked about some yesterday. He would like to see the border secured. He would like to see the loopholes closed. Our priorities have not changed in the immigration conversation at all. Aisha.
Thank you. Just going back to North Korea, you have said that the president will be willing to meet with North Korea if North Korea is. So does that put North Korea in the driver's seat here? Is it North Korea that's going to decide whether a meeting takes place? And also, the president said yesterday that the White House hadn't heard anything from North Korea. Has that changed? Have you heard anything since these talks were called off with South Korea?
They're certainly not in the driver's seat. Nothing could be further from the truth, but they're the ones that extended the invitation. We've accepted it. If they want to meet, we're happy to do that. If they don't, as the president has said, we'll see what happens, but we're going to continue the maximum pressure campaign. In the meantime, I don't know how they would be in the driver's seat in any capacity, form, or fashion in this process.
Standard for we won't meet with you unless you do X, Y, Z.
Look, the North Koreans have already made concessions. They've already 3 Americans are home now that weren't. The president has had some success in this process, and certainly we've given up nothing, and we're going to continue moving forward, and we're moving into this with our eyes wide open. We're not naive in this process, but the president is fully prepared to have the meeting. But if not, that's okay too, and we'll see what happens beyond that. Shannon.
I know we've asked this a few times, but we're still
That's okay. That's kind of what we do here. Ask the
an
same
answer
question
here.
over and over and over again.
Can you say yet when Michael Cohen stopped being the president's personal lawyer?
I'm not going to get into anything on that matter. You'd have to reach out to the president's outside counsel.
Yeah,
Sorry,
we still
Jill, go
haven't been
ahead.
able to answer
Jill,
that.
go ahead.
Thank you, Sarah. Why didn't the president disclose the reimbursement to Michael Cohen in last year's financial disclosure report? And just to follow up on other people's questions on North Korea, has any consideration been given at this point to potentially canceling those joint military exercises with South Korea?
On the first question, that was addressed in the financial disclosure, and that's something that would be determined by White House counsel, how things would be categorized in the filings. So, and on the second part, those are ongoing exercises that are routine and they're aware of, they're annual, and at this point we have no intention of changing it. Stephen?
I just want to ask you, because so many people in the country have been talking about it in the last 24 hours, what did the president mean when he said that some immigrants are not people, they're animals?
The president was very clearly referring to MS-13 gang members who enter the country illegally and whose deportations are hamstrung by our laws. This is one of the most vicious and deadly gangs that operates by the motto of rape, control, and kill. If the media and liberals want to defend MS-13, they're more than welcome to. Frankly, I don't think the term that the president used was strong enough. MS-13 has done heinous acts It took an animal to stab a man 100 times and decapitate him and rip his heart out. It took an animal to beat a woman they were sex trafficking with a bat 28 times, indenting part of her body. And it took an animal to kidnap, drug, and rape a 14-year-old Houston girl. Frankly, I think that the term animal doesn't go far enough, and I think that the president should continue to use his platform and everything he can do under the law to stop these types of horrible, horrible, disgusting people. I'm going to take one more question. Peter?
Thank you, Sarah. Are the chances of a summit now less likely than they were a week ago before these statements came out from Kim Jong-un?
I'm not going to get into a percentage game. I can tell you that we're ready and prepared. If they happen, they happen. And if they don't, we'll see what happens. Thanks so much, guys. We'll see you here in a few minutes with the president.
Sarah, has the president ever lied to us?
All right, folks, thank you very much for joining us and choosing us as your stream of choice. As you guys heard, Sarah Sanders said that the president is going to be speaking in just a few minutes. In reality, there's nothing scheduled, so I really don't know what she's talking about. But I'll keep you guys updated, so make sure you guys are subscribed to the channel and the notifications bell is on. Again, there is nothing scheduled on the White House schedule, so I really do not know what she's talking about. But if the president is going to make some remarks or a press conference or whatever, we'll keep you guys updated here at the channel. So like I said, make sure you guys are subscribed to the channel. You guys have the notifications bell on. That way you guys get a heads up when we go live. So yeah, folks, stay tuned. We might be back on live in just a few minutes. We're not 100% sure, so stay tuned here at Golden State Times. Thank you very much for joining us. Smack the like button and also make sure that you guys share this report on social media. And I'll see you guys in a few minutes, and we'll see what's going on with that. So thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for sharing. And thank you to the mods for coming out and keeping the chat clean and enjoyable for everyone. And I'll see you guys in just a little while. Peace.